When you go online right now and you search the name J.R. Smith and you searched on YouTube, it's funny what you get to see. So I want to screen share real quick and hopefully we can see what happens when you do that. So here's something funny. When you just do J, just J for me, but JR, it just goes to the J.R. Smith mistake. Now, if you don't know J.R. Smith, he's been around the NBA for many years. In fact, over a decade probably. He has 2 championships, one with the Cavs and this year with the LA Lakers, both with LeBron James as lead player. But I want, with everything he's done in his career, with all the highlights, with all of his bad behavior and aggressiveness, the one thing that is on everyone's ticker for YouTube is his mistake. And that's because we, as human beings, we obsess about mistakes, and for a good reason. We can learn so much from mistakes, far more than we can learn from what works. There's so much improvement that can be done after a mistake. What he did here in the 2018 finals, let me just stop the screen share for a second. What he did in the 2018 finals, when you had the Cavs with LeBron against the Warriors being the best team in the NBA by far that year, Durant, Steph Curry, etc. Game 1 is on the line. The score is 107 to 107. Everywhere you look, there's a scoreboard here, there's a scoreboard there. The whole world knows the score is tied at 107. George Hill goes to the line with 4 seconds to go for his second shot. If he scores, they go up 1. They're going to lead 107 to 108 to 107. Game 1 away. It's an upset. I'm watching this live, and here's what happens. Okay, let's go to screen share. I'm only going to do the 30-second clip, but you can look at larger ones. Here you go. This is George Hill at the line. And the score is 107 to 100. The whole crowd is up because there's 4.7 seconds to go. Let's see. Here's JR. He grabs the rebound. Look at what he does initially. Immediately, he goes out. Why would he go out? Think about that. He had the ball right here in the zone where he can literally take a quick shot with 3.4 seconds to go and take the lead. Everyone's watching him. All the players on the bench, the coaches, the whole world is watching. What does he do? Let's goes out, really out. Okay. Well, let's go back to this. So he goes really out there. Why would he go almost to half court? You have to ask yourself, into an area where he's not a threat to the defense. Everyone's watching him. LeBron is pointing with his hand. JR, where are you going? And he finally realizes that LeBron's telling him something, and he passes the ball to George Hill, who didn't score. And before he can get the shot off, it's done. Now look at what happened. Everyone's like, what are you doing? Everyone with their hands up. What just happened here? Even number 5 for the Warriors. He's like, what happened? Even this guy, what happened? So hopefully the mouse, but look at this. He's really, I want to take the shot. I want to take the shot. I want to take a timeout. Why didn't you pass? And he's all baffled. And he's like, I thought we were up by 1. That was the problem. He thought that the Cavs were leading 108 to 107. The whole thesis, the whole script, everything he's writing on is, I am in the lead by 1. I'm going to waste the clock and I'm going to win game 1. And he was so wrong. That is lesson number 1. And that is called the waltz-in approach. I see so many investors that just do that. Because there is no first degree, like a uni degree in investments, and people can just open a Robinhood account and start trading today, or open your Schwab account, Fidelity, and start trading today. There is no barrier of entry There is no learning curve that is mandatory. People just waltz in and start acting. And when you do that, you can make huge mistakes, like the one that J.R. Smith did. So the waltz-in approach is, to me, so foreign because as an Israeli, we're just suspicious of everything, right? And other Israelis that are listening to this would understand what I'm saying, but we just feel like there's always an angle out there. And so the waltzing in approach does not work for us. We like to look at everything that's going on, learn the environment, learn the atmosphere, learn what's happening, and then start making baby steps. So I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say you're looking at gold right now. Gold is at $1,910. If you're just looking at gold for the first time, what would be some good things to judge, to look at before you start buying or selling or holding or neglecting gold? Well, what is gold? What has it done? What has it done in the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? All sorts of questions. What are the experts saying? Who's long gold? Who's short gold? You don't just waltz in because of one data point that you heard and make a big decision. You have to take a step back and have that feeling in you that whatever you just heard, it is not in a rush. You don't have to act today. There are no once in a lifetime opportunities in the markets, and I want to show you that today. There are multi once in a lifetime opportunities, but they last for years and years. Literally, you can look at a security and for years it will be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Not today, not tomorrow, but for years. And that is what I call walking around the markets. So some companies are really good, so good that when you look at them for years and years, they can deliver phenomenal results. And therefore, they are almost permanent once in a lifetime opportunities, but you have to know what you're looking at. So in the Middle East and Europe, you can go through markets. It's very common, like fish markets or fruit markets, etc. And you can just look and there are all these vendors everywhere. And I want to have that analogy about the stock market. When you walk into that kind of a market, sometimes everywhere you go, you see sales. Like this guy's 20% off, 30% off, 40%, doesn't matter. You walked in to an amazing market. You didn't do anything, and you do not have to look for the angle. It is just a great market. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes the whole market is cheap. And you have to know when those times are. They're rare times, but when they are occurring, you have to be more aggressive because now you have an opportunity to buy stuff cheap, for real. At other times, stuff is cheap because it expires tomorrow. And so there's a big reason, a big risk involved, because whatever you don't finish eating today is going to be a rotten fruit tomorrow. Those times happen as well. The markets become cheap, but for good reason. And therefore, you need to, you can be aggressive in those times because whatever you buy goes rotten tomorrow if you don't eat it. So you can really think, hey, this is cheap in this analogy, and I'll eat it today, so it's worth it. But if it's not, if you're not going to eat it today, then you're going to get stuck in a swirl. And these are these turnaround stories. Companies that were once great and are now having huge trouble. In your mind, they're amazing companies because every apple that you've tasted or every orange that you've tasted is great thus far, so why not buy another one? But tomorrow, this particular orange goes bad, and whatever you paid for it, it's too much. So those companies, I literally just avoid. I don't want to be around for any turnaround story. I don't care the potential. The risk of it is just not worth it to be around. So I avoid turnaround stories altogether. And you can look just in the last 10 years about turnaround stories that have not worked out. These days, they call them value traps. These are just companies that are robust. They have great culture. They've done well over the years, but they've just now been too much disrupted to deliver great results in the future. They're cheap for a reason, for a good reason. They might never be the same levels as they were before, and they won't be better than just spreading through the entire market and just buying and choosing, which would be in investment terms, buying the index. So whenever I look at a turnaround story, if I feel any reason that I should dabble in that security, I just buy the index instead. And that has worked really well for me. I can tell you about all sorts of companies that I've looked at over the years, or that people have sent over friends, fund managers, etc., and said, look, this company is at a 10-year low, 15-year low. You know this company, it's a blue chip. And still I said, look, not worth the risk. Even if it turns things around, it will probably just do as well as the index. So why risk it? What I really want to show you guys is that sometimes there's a new guy that comes along, opens up his little booth in the market, and his merchandise is amazing. And he sells it at a very good price. Not too expensive, but it's worth it. Every bite you take is explodes in your mouth. All the vitamins is so juicy, etc. These are the sorts of booths that will probably charge a premium for a very long time. And there are companies that charge a premium or that are more expensive, and for a good reason. They're not a bubble, they're not a hype. You won't hear about them everywhere. These are not the types of companies where they're always out there in the Robinhood sphere or in the retail sphere. They're just amazing companies, and therefore they have a high P ratio, and that can stay on for years. When do you want to buy these types of companies? Well, for one, you might want to take a little position in them at any time after a small little correction or 3, 4, 5% correction, because these companies just do not plunge down by 40, 50%. These are not the types of companies that do that. But sometimes you walk around the markets and it's a Friday and this person is going on vacation for a week and he has a lot of inventory left and he's starting to shout 80% off my oranges. And the other vendors have to compete with him. So what do? Well, they can refrigerate their oranges. They can squeeze them for themselves and for their families. But instead of doing that, sometimes the entire markets act in an irrational way. And in our scenario, because one person is going on a 1 month vacation, has to liquidate the entire thing and sells it at insane prices, all the other vendors start panicking. And before you know it, that particular day, for a few particular hours, everything's off for 80%. And you're like, what is going on? Does somebody know something? Are there worms inside of these fruits that I'm not aware of? Why is everyone selling it for so cheap? And you're thinking, you're starting to doubt yourself. Maybe I'm getting this all wrong. Maybe these fruits are junk. But the truth is, once the person starts to panic and then everyone joins in and they lose all sense of logic, instead of just saying, oh, you know what, let me close shop for today. Let this guy sell everything he wants to sell. I'm not selling at 80% off. These people will come back tomorrow and buy at regular prices. Why would I do that? But sometimes it happens. When did it happen last time? It happened in March. In the circuit breaker week, every day the market went down 6, 7, 8% down. In 16 days, minus 35%. And what is the lesson here? Well, if you had a dynamic watch list, which is a watch list of companies that you know are amazing, like that booth. You know that booth is amazing, and if he does any sale, you're all over his fruits because those fruits are to die for. They're the best. I want to show you a few companies right now that have been on my dynamic watch list for years, but I've never had a chance to really, double down on them because they never become cheap enough to really become aggressive. But in March they did. So these are just theoretical examples. These are not any recommendations or stuff like that. I just want to share with you the value of researching for an hour to 90 minutes a day companies and looking at them historically and seeing that, wow, these are top companies, the best companies in the world. Nobody's talking about them. They fly under the radar. They are very big companies, but I don't hear about them every day. There's an opportunity here when they get really cheap, and I want to take advantage of it. So they're in my dynamic watch list. In my dynamic watch list, I put a lot of data in them about these companies, but it only takes an hour to 90 minutes a day because you're only looking for particular things. You don't need to know anything and everything about the company because the market has told you so much about it, just judging by how they treat the security before you came along. So let me just show you a few examples just to be specific. Let's move out of this LeBron James one. This is one company. Look at this company. This is called Cintas Corporation. I just want to show you a 5-year chart. Look at this. Every time there's a little dip, it's worth buying. And obviously, what happened here, it's already doubled from the March lows. But let's go further because I want to show you that this is not a once in a lifetime opportunity, not something that you could have said, well, now you tell me. Look at how much data there was on this. It traded for 95 cents in 1983. It went, just kept going and going and going and going and going. Every time, but it did 47 times its money between 1980 and 1999. Then went into the sideways market of the 2000s and didn't budge through the 2000s. And in 2008, it was $25 or $26 a share, and then start going up. Every time there's an opportunity to buy this company cheap, there was an opportunity. One should have looked at this company because it's an amazing company. Very few people talk about it, and therefore it's not expensive because of hype. It's expensive because it's an amazing company that delivers amazing results for investors over time. Another such company is the S&P Global. Look at this company over 5 years. Very similar chart to Cintas. Just two big corrections, one in 2018 and another one in COVID. But look at this company over time. Just an incredible company. Started from 239 today, 333. Cintas actually was 95 cents to 328. So very similar opportunities. And Phase, another company, this one is newer. We move to this one. 5 years, $3 to $100, solar energy company. Just an amazing opportunity overall. And every time it became cheap, it was a time to get in. Every correction that this company has, and it had quite a few of them, one should have got in. Now, I'm not saying get in now. I'm saying put it on a dynamic watch list. These are the top quality companies in the world, and you should really know them and look at them. Another company I want to show you is Rollins. Rollins does pest control. So, and obviously, look at the people involved. These are the family that put it together. Anyways, 5-year chart. This thing is done amazing. Max. When we go out, you'll see 46 cents to $60. Every time that there's a correction, there's a bear market, there's a sell-off, this company becomes cheap for no reason that has to do specifically with its company. When you think about the scenario of the booth, this guy was forced to sell his premium grade fruits at a liquidation price because the whole market was panicking. He joined in on the panic. If you have a dynamic watch list, then you know, hey, when Rollins does this over the years, it's been a great opportunity. Hopefully I can move this so I can go to the next one. Let me try right here. Yeah, ResMed is another great one. Now, all these companies, just put them on a watch list, learn about them, study, get interested in them. These are just a few of them. You may comment in the comment section below if you know of any other ones that you want to share with the community. These are companies that their charts are absolutely amazing, and they show you that every time that there's a bad earnings call, let's say like this one, look at this, 117 to 94, back to 117 in what? A few months. So, and it happens every time. Look at the COVID, 114, it's already visited over 200. Now it's back down again. I want you to look at this. Look at a max chart. Just absolutely amazing. Since 1995, this thing has returned 3,000 times your money. And the beauty about it is I'm showing you that this is a 25-year chart. There's not a once in a lifetime, you have to buy it today, but study a company, learn about it, know how strong it is, and then you can make these huge returns over time. Look at another one here. Let me try and fix this thing. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but it's hard to. Okay, A.O. Smith. Last 5 years, what happened is this company has a lot of exposure to China. You can see how it peaked in 2018 when the tariff war was announced. I want to look back to the max, and you can see it started with $1 in 1983. It went all the way to $60 in 2018. And look at COVID, it brought it down almost 50%. So a very big opportunity. It was actually, if you go to wealthresearchgroup.com/list/list2/list3/list4 and /tech. These are our 5 watch lists. Basically, I took my dynamic watch list and I segregated it into 5 different ones. You can look at A.O. Smith is there, and it's because it's a very quality company. Anyways, another one that you may have never heard of, but look at its performance is Market Access. Again, this company was 100 just 5 years ago, 547 today. Have you ever heard of it? So let me know. Max, look at this thing since 2004, 17 to 537 to 30 times your money. And the guy who founded it in 2004 was a known person. So if you were doing your research in 2004 when I was just 20 years old, but in 2004 you could have learned about this IPO and this company even back then. And again, it's that research, not waltzing in, but looking at things that are happening around the markets, studying this for an hour to 90 minutes a day, being very methodical and professional about it. Yeah, so the last thing I want to share with you is our advantage over funds as individuals. So a good friend of mine is a fund manager. Actually, I have a few friends that are fund managers. And in March, when I called them and I asked, what are you buying? Some of them were saying, look, I'm more involved right now with hedging because end of March, I have to show my investors, my clients, how much I protected our portfolio. So I can't let our portfolio go down by 25 or 30% and just take all the cash and do a big chunk of buying, because they're going to ask me, why have I lost 30% in March? As an individual, we don't care about that. I wouldn't spend time personally, because I'm 36, hedging my portfolio because of the March panic, when I can take all that available cash that I have on hand and just buy great securities, because I have a 10-year outlook. March would be nothing for me if in 10 years I can say, look at all that money that I spent in March of 2020, look at what it did until March of 2030. Whereas funds, they have to protect their month-to-month performance, and they can't do that as much. So that's the advantage you have over funds. Don't be afraid of seeing your portfolio temporarily going down by 25 to 30% because you have a 20-year outlook. Now, if you're 60, this particular note does not apply to you that much, because if you have $1 million saved for retirement, losing 300K in 2 weeks, that's a problem. But if you have time and time is working for you, we've never seen a time where the entire index has gone down and not come back up to the same levels if you have enough time to buy securities at a lower valuation. We also have to remember that oranges are not just to be sold. So the people that are running these booths, you know, the orange has an intrinsic value. You can make orange juice from it. You can make other derivatives from it. And therefore, it's not just the price going up. When you sell your securities at these lows, you're losing on all the dividend and compounding that has happened over the years. You're losing on that intrinsic value because you're only looking at the price. You're not looking at the cash flow that these companies are providing for you, or the earnings that they have and that they're redeploying within their own company. Longer blog today, so I'm going to leave it at that. And I really like to know what you think. Do you have these types of superior companies that you've been watching for years and years that you want to let us know about? Do you also suffer from the waltzing in approach? Have you gone in big where you should have just studied more on what's going on? Do you also understand the analogy of the fruit market, where you need to think, why is it cheap? Is it cheap for a reason? Is this guy panicking the whole group and I can take advantage of this? And then the dynamic watch list. Do you have one? Build one. Have it really methodical. Look at it. You can download our watch list in order for you to research it and think about them independently and make your own individual decision as it pertains to your own life. Let me know, and we'll definitely catch you on Thursday or Friday, the next one. Thank you for watching this one.